So Steve and I went went to high school together. Even though I'm a few years ahead of him, we didn't cross paths in high school, but became friendly thereafter, and just admire this guy and respect him so much. He was in high school. He was one of the top three sport athletes to come out of our school in New York. One of the best in the state at football, basketball, lacrosse. Just an absolute beast on the field and in competition. He later went on to Denison University, where he was a star on their football team. Um, and then just recently completed his second Ironman, which amazes me. That's like I think it was like 12 hours he was saying of running, swimming, and biking. So just still very athletic guy. And uh, but the reason I like him to come speak to you guys is because Steve made a career pivot later in life. He spent 21 years working in education at the private high school level as a administrator, a teacher, a coach, and then just recently decided he's going to pivot, make a complete 180 and do something totally different than what he's done, which is very similar to you guys, where you've known something in the military for your career and now you're coming out and doing something else. And he now works at one of the leading property and casualty insurance companies in the country. 5 billion in revenue. They have like 14,000 employees there, 47 billion in premiums. Um, and is just absolutely kicking ass in this new role. So just he's got such a great story, and he was here a few months ago, and everyone really enjoyed his advice, his mentorship, and just so grateful, Steve, to have you back. Thank you for your all your generous support of our community. We truly appreciate it, and we're up to a little over 1,000 people now watching live streams of this on three different networks. So you're going to reach a lot of people today, and I'm gonna actually hand this off, Steve, to Kylie on our team, and she's going to MC the session with you. And just fired up to have you back. So thank you.
It's good to see you again, Steve. Like Jordy said, we're super, super excited to have you back. I'd love to start off by telling everybody, I think that they're going to be so interested on kind of what shifted that career and kind of where that took you and why that decision was originally made. I think it's so, so important.
I think we might have lost him.
Yep,
Did we?
looks like it.
He was
Well,
having
everybody, I'll tell you about Steve.
he was having I could tell his connection was bad in the
Yeah.
we'll give him a minute to
Yeah.
get back. Oh, no. Anyone here ever done a Ironman or
Mm.
triathlon?
Oh, Robert's done one? Cool.
Which one did you do, Rob?
It wasn't a full triathlon though. It was like a
That's
sprint
all right.
triathlon where they have shorter distances for everything.
Yeah.
It was
Flint.
it's like a 1 kilometer swim, a 2 mile run, and then like a 9 mile bike ride.
Wow.
That's still
That's
awesome.
yeah, that's legit, man.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, but
Before Steve comes back to it, like everybody, if you're switching careers, pop it in the chat, like what your career is now and then what you're switching to. I'm curious to see how many other people, I'm sure it's going to be a bunch of you guys, but how many other people are in the same position that Steve was in.
Fred, what was the Baton Death March? That sounds awful.
That's it's a death march in or it's a 26 mile 30-pound ruck that you do in White Sands.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
Yeah, Death March is really intimidating.
How much weight on your back? Just- Let's see. I think he's text. No.
A lot of career changes in here.
Hey, I guess while we wait, um, If anybody is looking for like new computers, I found out about this not long ago, and I've gotten a couple since. But Best Buy does these open box things. Sometimes you can find like laptops and stuff that have been like pretty severely discounted because they've been open or whatever and brought back to the store. And you can get like really, really good, um, well-performing like laptops and desktops and stuff, and save quite a bit of money on them. So, if you guys are looking, just know that that is a potential way you can save some money and get a better performing computer.
No, that's
Chris,
good.
what market are
Appreciate
you
it,
in?
Chris.
Yeah, I'll throw out there since Chris just mentioned that if any of you all ain't following, there's a organization. It's a Marine veteran that got out. He's doing a military veteran gaming thing, and you can actually sign up and like weekly they send multiple gaming computers to active duty and transitioning and veterans. If you're not following, I'll drop the LinkedIn in the chat.
All right.
Thanks, Josh.
Steve, you back?
So I'm so sorry, everybody. My internet suddenly just went out.
I gave you a great intro.
Yeah.
Damn, you missed it.
My ego is feeling so much better because of you, Jordy. It was fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Take it away. Kylie is going to MC the session with you, but we're super excited to hear from you again. And thank you again, buddy. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks. It's an honor to be here. And, most importantly, thank you to everybody here for all that you've sacrificed for our country. I've been asked for years, mainly by boys that I've taught and coached, if I have any regrets. And I don't have many, but the one big one that I do have definitively is that I've never served our country the way you all have. So thank you so much. I think I'll just get right to it. In 2019, I was in my early 40s. I was a high school English teacher, football, lacrosse coach. I was actually running a division of a school, so I had a senior leadership role. I played many different wore many different hats that you would wear at an independent school. I spent most of those 20 years at all-boy private schools. And at that time, as I mentioned, I was in my early 40s. I had 2 young kids of my own. And I just started thinking about whether or not I wanted to teach catcher in the rye when I turned 50. And I decided ultimately no, and I can explain how I came to the no. I still loved what I was doing. It wasn't like I woke up one day and didn't like it. But as I'm sure everybody on this call has faced the life challenges that come our way, out of the blue, our 6-year-old son was diagnosed with leukemia. And my wife, who worked in finance and made a lot more X than I did, had to leave her job to take care of our son full time. And that really was challenging for many reasons. Financially, we got annihilated. I was about 2 months away from going through all of my retirement savings and getting our son the care that he needed and just everything that stems from it. But I had a chance encounter with a guy who started a reinsurance brokerage business. And I was very fascinated by it and went all in on learning about the reinsurance industry and getting a job with this company. And so I texted this founder 37 mornings in a row at 4 a.m. And on the 37th day, he finally got back to me, and I got an interview with the company. They offered me a job, and it was fantastic. I did that for a couple years. Then I moved over to an insurance carrier. And just recently, close to 3 months ago, I started a new job as a private equity M&A producer. What does that mean? I go out there and develop relationships with people that work at private equity companies, real estate investment companies, private credit companies, and bring my team in to do all of the insurance related needs on the deals that they're considering doing. I absolutely love it. One of the fascinating parts of the job is 80% of my pipeline are boys that I taught and coached. who work at private equity companies now. So that's been really fun. Most importantly, our son rang the bell at Sloan Kettering March 24th of this year after a 1,236-day battle with leukemia. He's doing great. He's playing tackle football. My wife's been getting back to work. Our daughter is now a freshman in high school. And as Jordy mentioned, I did the Lake Placid Ironman triathlon this past July. My son and I raised close to $40,000 for the V Foundation for Pediatric Cancer Research. And I'm proud to say that I was completely disqualified from the race because I crossed the finish line with my son. Pretty epic moment. So that's a very quick version of, I would say, the last, 7-8 years of my life. I'm happy. I think the most productive use of our time would be maybe to answer any questions that any of you have. I will also say this is the second time I've done this. The last time I did it, I made an offer to the whole group. Please, after this call, if you want to have a one-on-one chat with me, just connect with me on LinkedIn, and I can give you my cell phone or my email, and I'm happy to set up a time to chat one-on-one with you. I know what it's like to transition from one career to another. It took me 3 years to pull it off. I also had over 300 meetings. It was very hard. It was humbling in every way. And as I said, all of you on this call no doubt have faced and maybe currently are facing some of life's greatest challenges. But I say this from a humble place, not from one of being arrogant. But I think when I look back to all the things that my wife and I were handling with, the kids, the dogs, our taking care of our son, which is a full-time job, and the scariness of cancer, and me running a school, and then also just hustling, trying to find time to meet with people. It can be done, and I think like anything in life, it just takes a lot of grit, just some good old hustle, and just belief in yourself that you can pull it off. I think the most important tip that I could give to you guys about the technical aspect of transitioning into something new is to really, really, really know your story and have a kick-ass story. There's no question that you guys all do. And think about the ways in which you've developed and become experts at certain things because of being in the military. And all of that stuff is easily transferable to another career. And I shared this story with Jordy and the team last time I spoke. There was a distinct moment in my desire to change careers where kind of the light went on for me. I was in my 4th interview with a company, and I really wasn't even excited about the job, but I was at a point in my search where I felt like I was getting kind of desperate. And the call was with a guy who was a lot younger than me. Not that that matters. He probably would have been my boss. He didn't even take the time to look at my resume, and that, I'm a competitive guy. That was kind of annoying. I think, you guys know from being in the military, you have to be prepared for everything. Lives are at risk. This guy didn't even take the time to see my background. And he asked me, well, what's your sales quota? And I said, well, sorry, looks like maybe you didn't get a chance to see my resume. I've been a teacher for, a number of years. And he said, well, how am I supposed to evaluate you? You've never had a sales quota. And I don't regret this, but I fired back in a pretty competitive way. And I said, let me tell you what my sales quota is. Every day I show up to a room filled with a bunch of 14-year-old savages who don't want to buy what I'm selling. They have zero interest in reading books. They don't want to write essays. And every day they get in their car after school with their mom and tell them what a horrible day they had and what a bad teacher Mr. Garnett is. That's the pressure that I have every day. So in order to combat that, that is the ultimate form of preparedness. I need to know every single thing that I'm teaching these kids. I need to make sure that the literature that I'm teaching them is relevant to their lives. And I need to sell that to them on every single day. And I went back to this guy and said, look, I'm sure you're good at what you do. You're in sales. I don't have the luxury that you have. I'm sure you win more than you lose. But when you have a sales call, if you lose it, you just go on to the next person. You get to start over again. I don't have that luxury in my business. So sadly, that analogy didn't really go over very well with him, but it allowed me to frame kind of what I was trying to sell about myself. And it also made me realize, wow, you know what? Teaching is really hard. Being in the military is really hard. Here's what I had to do every day to prepare for my clients, if you will, in order to make them successful, which ultimately led to my success. And that happened both in the classroom and on the playing field. You always had to be on. You couldn't have an off day. And I've seen now, after 3.5 years in the corporate world, man, there's a lot of opportunity out there because there are a lot of very complacent, very lazy, unskilled people who have a job for whatever reason they have it. But I'm telling you, just get out there, attack every opportunity you see, and you get in the door and you're going to find the opportunity to have a lot of success a lot quicker than you realize.
I love
maybe I'll shut up and let you guys ask some questions.
I'll start with the questions because I love that. I love that you were able to compare something like being a teacher and sales, which is something that I personally would never be able to find a similarity in between, because that's something that I know I struggle with a lot, and I'm sure other people do in this room, where like I was a cop. It was hard for me to see things that I did while being in law enforcement that could apply to anything else. There's a bunch, I realize now, but I used to think that the only thing I could ever do was law enforcement. So what did you do to get yourself in that mindset to where you were like, no, I am capable of other things, even though I don't have the experience in this world?
Great question. And the first thing I think of with a police officer is patience and kindness under pressure. Like sales call, you see people blow those up because they're just nervous and they're not prepared or they don't have the patience. Like I've seen police officers in stressful situations, firsthand, like handle that approach really professionally and in a remarkable way. So that's a fun one to dig into. I think it was a combination of things. I think it was, one, just being scared about what was going on in my life personally. Two, it was like the middle of my search, or maybe towards the end of it. I'd had so many meetings and so many people just not give me the time of day that there was a lot of frustration. I know that I spent a lot of time thinking about what I wanted to do and what I thought I could do. And so just in that moment, there was something about that moment and this guy just pissing me off and making me feel like I couldn't do anything, where I was like, hold on. And that's kind of where I made the connection. It was really just in the moment. But I think I am a reflective, thoughtful person. So it's super helpful. And what I've helped some of the people that I've met on this call do is think about their lives and identify the things that are important about their lives personally and professionally with what they've done that can translate to a new career. I think naturally it happened for me because that's what I spent 20 years doing. Every day I was helping kids. I mean, I have a call at 1:30 today with a former student of mine who I haven't talked to in 10 years who's thinking about making a career change, and I'm going to guide him through that. It's very hard individually to look within oneself and identify things that we do naturally and think that those are unique, good things. So it's helpful to have somebody else who doesn't know you, like me, talk it out with you and just go through the things that you've done and identify your strengths and maybe the opportunities that you can work on to become better.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love the what you said about someone looking in from the outside because it's really hard for people to say good things about themselves. People tend to point out the bad and the things that they're unable to do. And someone that looking at it with an unbiased opinion, it's pretty easy to be like, "Oh, you did this and this and this. You have these skills." So, I really like.
Yeah, and I'll say, like, that analogy became kind of like my go-to. A lot of people didn't get it. They're just like, what's this guy talking about? They're kids. Who cares? That's their problem. And you know what? Not a right fit. That's not somebody I wanted to be with. My current boss right now, you know, he said, and this guy's been a very successful person in the financial services space for many years. He said, Steve, like, your ability to motivate and coach kids, like, that's something that I don't come across ever. That's somebody we need on our team. Like, not only are you going to be able to bring in new business, but you're going to be able to be helpful within our organization with younger people and helping them come along in their careers. So, anyway.
Yeah, no, I love that. If anybody else has any questions for Steve, raise your hand. I could keep going with questions, but I want to hear from you guys as well. So, I'll keep. Oh, all right, we have a couple. Jordy first.
Steve, thanks for that story, man. Can you elaborate more? Last time you talked about, which I thought was awesome, these hiring authorities out there, they will make you feel like you are not at their level, you're not skilled enough for them, and then talk about the reality of that. I thought that was brilliant the way you described that last time.
Oh yeah, look, I think you see it every day. I mean, I'm not a big social media guy. The only social media thing I'm on is LinkedIn, and my wife made me get on there when I was going through the career shift. And I actually love LinkedIn. I think it's a great tool. It helps me a lot. But to answer your question, it's just don't let anybody intimidate you. People like to make them out to be far more important than they really are. I actually just think it's hilarious. And so don't be annoyed by it. Use that to be fuel for your fire and recognize that what you have done in your life is far more important than anything that they've been doing sitting behind a desk, for however long they've been doing it. Just don't let anybody ever make you feel like you're not valuable. I think that's how I look at it. And I think that attitude has just percolated in me more and more and helps me every time I go into a big meeting, every time. And it's now it's just something that I fully embrace and love. Whereas like maybe a few years ago, I kind of tried to gloss over my past. But look, I think I'm a big believer in the right fit. And where do I get that from? I was head of admissions for the school where I spent most of my career. And I was evaluating boys every day. And the idea was, is this school and is this boy a right fit for one another? And it's a beautiful thing when things are the right fit. But when they're a wrong fit, it's really bad. And I think that goes back to my point from earlier where I was making that analogy to this young sales guy. He didn't get it. As I mentioned, it was a job I didn't really want anyway. And maybe that's why I was so aggressive in my response to him, because I didn't really care about getting the job there. But even after making my switch, I realized that my first job in the insurance industry was great. In hindsight, there were some things that weren't perfect, but that's not why I moved. But I finally, I think, found the job for me. And even when you make the transition, it might be, you might have to make a few more moves, but I think you just get that first, I call it proof of concept. I pulled off the proof of concept, switch from teaching to being in the corporate world. You can do it too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. Robert, go ahead.
Good morning, and thank you for coming to talk to us again. I have kind of a two-part question. First part is, what's one of the biggest challenges that you've had besides the ones we've kind of like already talked about, or like other ones? And what was the biggest, like, I don't know. Oh, I don't want to say reward, but like the thing you've learned the most from in this transition period?
Yeah, great questions. Sorry, I focused on part two a little bit too much and lost sight of part one, Robert. Which one?
Yeah, it was just what was one of the another challenge that you kind of faced, and what was one of the things you learned from the whole like transitioning process?
Yeah, I think the thing that I hold myself accountable for is nobody works harder. That's something we can control. Everybody on this call can control how hard you work. And I think a lot of people like to say how busy they are. I would encourage all of you to never say that. Like, think about what you just said. I'm too busy. That's embarrassing. Like, there is enough time in the day to find a way to get it done. And I used to wake up at 5 in the morning. I've always been an early riser. And then I started waking up at 4:30, then 4, then 3:30. Now I get up at 3 o'clock pretty much. Well, Monday through Friday, I get up at 3 o'clock every day. Saturday and Sunday, I give myself an extra hour. And all of that happened like during, my wife was in the hospital with our son for basically 2 years. And then we were outpatient. And so I took on all the responsibilities of the household. And so I had to get up that early to do the laundry, to empty the dishwasher, to clean the house, take care of the dogs, to make my daughter's lunch, to get to my job, to try to find another job, to tutor, to try to make extra money so that our family could pay our bills. Like, you can control how hard you work. People are so lazy. Oh my gosh. It's like, it's remarkable to me how some people even survive in the world. So you can outwork everybody that you're competing against. And I would encourage you, when you have the opportunity to interview, to highlight how hard you do work, because that's the thing that all of my friends who are in charge of, the next generation, is the biggest pain point for them is they want to know how much PTO they get, or like what time they can leave the office, or like, look, I made this career change in my late 40s, and I found out what time, I got to work my first day on the job at 5 a.m. and the office wasn't even open, and I didn't have the card to get in. And so the CEO came in at 6:15, and he's like, well, what are you doing here? I was like, oh, I'm here for work. The next guy that got there at 9 o'clock, and they were, 22 to 28-year-olds. And I sensed some competition in the CEO. So the next day, I still got there at 5. He got there at 6. He got there 15 minutes early. And next day, I got there at 5. I had my key card now. He got there at 5:45, and he hit me in the back of the head with a Nerf football. And he said, I relent, game over, you win. And so it's like just that, like just in 3 days of being on the job, just by showing up early, like I earned his respect and probably secured my job there for as long as I wanted just by getting there early, And so I think taking care of the little things is always super, super important. I get a ton of great feedback for all the handwritten notes that I send to people. I would encourage you guys, when you have an interview, to send a handwritten note. Don't send an email thanking them. That requires them to respond to you. Send a handwritten note. That's something that, so Robert, I didn't really learn that through this. I learned that many, 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 many years ago from my Aunt Sally, who just was like savage on me about sending thank you notes for things. And so I've always just sent handwritten notes. That's super important and very rare today, and will really set you apart in this. I think the other thing that I learned is just to be relentless. There's no such thing as following up too much. No such thing. Like, I know people, it's like you go out on a first date with somebody. I mean, I've been married for a long time, but I think I'm remembering this right. You wait like a day or two before you call the person or text them because you're so excited, but you're like, oh, I don't want to show I'm too excited, but so I'm going to wait a couple days. That does not apply here. Like, attack every opportunity.
Yeah.
Hope that answers your question.
It did. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
On that note, how do you keep that balance? Because a lot of people here have done 20 plus years in the military, and they're looking for a little bit more of a work-life balance than they've had in the past. Like, they're the hardest workers you'll ever meet, but they need a little bit of downtime after this crazy ride.
I agree. And so here's the bottom line. You're not going to have any downtime right away. But here's the hope. In 3 years of switching careers, I now have more flexibility in my life than I ever could have imagined. It's remarkable. I drive my daughter to school every single day with our 2 dogs in the back of my truck. I go to the place where we go for a walk for an hour. The dogs swim. I get my exercise. I get home. I set my own schedule. And I've earned that by not 3 years of experience, but my entire work life experience. Here's another thing, and I don't want to be disrespectful. I do not believe, and I'll explain this, I do not believe in a work-life balance. When I hear the word balance, I think of a guy on a tightrope trying not to fall off and die. And what I mean by that is, if we're just balancing, we're not attacking anything. And so I think you need to prioritize things in your life. Somebody just said work-life harmony. Fantastic. It's attacking your professional life. For me, my priorities are attacking my professional life and attacking my family life. Everything else is a bonus. Mm-hmm. So I'm lucky in the sense that a lot of my personal life intertwines with my professional life. And that's just how I've kind of figured things out.
No, I really like that.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of people that have a different opinion on that. It's usually the same spiel of whatever, trying to keep that work-life balance. So I like that different outlook.
Yeah, and I know I don't know what it's like to be in the military, but I do know what it's like to work really hard. I do know what it's like to go to the grocery store and pray that your credit card will go through because you're pretty sure it's maxed out. And I understand the stress of like trying to succeed professionally and the stress that comes from, having a sick family member and the financial strains that are a result. There is no Superman. Nobody's going to come save you, but somebody will give you the opportunity if you attack it. And maybe that's the most important thing that I've learned. And I've just discovered that by talking to you guys is I always thought, oh God, somebody just give me a chance. Well, I did get a chance, but it's because I attacked it. It wasn't going to just come to me. And so just be relentless in your pursuit of what you decide you want to do.
Yeah. Absolutely. Going back to what you said earlier, I keep thinking about it. You said you messaged someone over 30 times, and I'd love to hear more about what you did. You said your wife made you made a LinkedIn. How did it, because we talk a lot about networking, how important it is, because we don't have any network outside of the military, or a lot of us don't at this point. So, what other networking tactics did you use to try to get your foot in at places?
Great question. Creativity, a lot of homework, learning about people personally. One thing that you can find, something that I tapped into was people's charitable pursuits. So there might be a connection there. You know, there are a ton of people who volunteer for military, transition type organizations. Identifying those people and having an executive summary of who you are and a compelling story written down in an email could be a great way to get in touch with somebody. Sending that in a note to that person and via snail mail. When you identify something you really want to attack, I drove to this guy's office 3 times in the chance, hopefully to see him. He wasn't there any of the 3 times, but I dropped off a book each time I went to see him. He had some interests that were similar to mine. So I gave him some books that were really meaningful to me. And he actually texted me 3 weeks ago and said, "Hey, I'm just, and I haven't worked for him for 2 years." And he said, "Hey, did you give me this book? There's this amazing inscription inside of it, and it just says Steve. I'm assuming it's you." And I said, "Yes, I gave you that." He's like, "Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for this." Like, so those things, those creative things that you can do to separate yourself from others is helpful. I think if you identify an industry that you want to attack, I have paid very close attention to industry news. So things that are relevant to what's going on in the space that you're interested in getting into, and reading those things and sending them to a person that you've identified as somebody that can help you get into that company. That's a great way to show that you really care. And I can tell you, none of your competition is doing that. No chance.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. We never hear about those different creative options because, like you say, they are so rare. Jordy is always teaching us to do a video, send a letter, send a package, something like that. So I love that you're stressing on that because it really is so rare. It's just everyone through the phone or through the computer screen nowadays. So
yeah, it's like people say to me, "Oh, well, you're never going to get a job on LinkedIn." I got a job from LinkedIn, and I'll explain that. A prospect of mine posted a job that he was hiring for on LinkedIn. And so I connected with him about that job. Now, I went through 3 months of hustling to try to get that job. But that's how that job came about. I do think there's truth to just sending, somebody or randomly applying to a job on LinkedIn. That's probably not going to go anywhere. I agree with that. But I think it's expanding your network, being relentless in that way. The way I look at it is, and it's kind of my 4 rules of life: attack every opportunity, nobody works harder, take care of yourself, and know everybody. And it's not a social climbing, know everybody thing. It's just get to know everybody in the industry that you're trying to get into, or even people that are connected to that industry, so that you have a warm connection that can help you when the time is right.
Yeah, no,
I'm having meetings with people right now that cannot help me in any way today, but one day they will be decision makers. Call it in 3 to 5 years. So I'm creating a massive pipeline for myself so that it never goes dry. Nobody's calling on these guys that I'm calling on because they're so junior, they're associates. One day they will remember me because I'm going to always stay in touch with them. When they do have the power to make the decisions, they're going to call me first.
How do you start those conversations? Like with say a random associate member that you've never talked to, you don't have much in common with. How do you go about starting that?
I find something in common.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's mainly from LinkedIn. I mean, it's just following all the companies that you're interested in, following the leadership at that company. You know, I call on private equity companies, and one of the things that I do is I'll just type the private equity company's name into my network on LinkedIn, and it will show me if I'm connected to anybody at that company. That's how I start the process. And even if it's a second and not a first, I'll find out who is connected to them and ask them if they can make an introduction for us.
Okay. Okay. That's a great advice.
It's really just being relentless and like not having any shame. Like, and it's all polite. It's not like you're being a jerk. It's just like you just go for it.
Yeah. Where did you learn that to just go for it? Did you learn that in the career shift, or did you always kind of have that? You were always kind of that person?
I've always had that attitude.
Okay. I'm switching the conversation a little bit. I'd like to talk about where you're at now and like what your day-to-day life is now. What do you do in private equity? Like what does that world look like for somebody who might want to learn more about it in here or maybe wants to go into that world?
Yeah, sure. So I work for, as it said, I work for Alliant. They are a top 5 retail insurance broker. Insurance brokers have relationships with the underwriters at insurance companies, so the carriers who will provide the coverage for the risk. I don't do any insurance broking. That's not what I do. My job is to develop relationships with people at private equity companies who, for their portfolio companies and the current deals they're considering doing, require insurance. So their portfolio companies require all property and casualty insurance and employee benefits insurance. So that is the golden goose for what we're trying to do. You know, a normal insurance producer, he might call on company XYZ to try to get their business. When I call on a private equity company, they might own 55 businesses. They might own 1,000 businesses. So if I'm able to get in the door on one sales call and convince them to allow me to have 5 portfolio companies and do an amazing job, maybe they'll give me more of their portfolio companies. My day-to-day, I just described it a little bit. Today is a little bit more of a computer day. I have a bunch of expenses to take care of. I have a couple more calls. I'm always networking, so I'm always sending notes to people. If I don't have lunch with somebody new 3 times a week, I'm failing at my job, in my opinion. I have coffees, lunches. I try to avoid dinners. Most people avoid dinners now anyway because they want to be home with their families and want to be healthy, which is really nice. I don't want to make it sound like my job is this every day, but part of my job is building really strong relationships with people. And so I do. Last week, I took 3 clients hunting. I'm a big hunter. I have 2 field dogs. We went pheasant hunting for 3 days. Yesterday, a Sunday, because it was the only day that I could get these guys, I took 3 guys to play golf, which was great. So I do that. I do active things with people. I've gotten groups of people to join me for a 10K run. So it's just about connecting with people and doing fun things together, because ultimately the companies that I'm calling on have to buy what I'm selling. They have to. And that's a great line of business to be in. That's something to think about is this something that they have to have, or is this something that they might need? 2 very different sales processes there.
Yeah, no, 100%. I feel like your whole your whole career outline that you talked about has led you up to this job and how good you are at relationship building. 'Cause that sounds like yeah, your entire job, it seems. So that's amazing.
Well, you're nice to say that, and you're right. Unintentionally, I've just always done a good job of staying in touch with people, and I just love. And that's something else to consider. Like, I love being with people. This is a lot of fun being on this call, but like, I don't want to be on the computer, like, ever. I want to be moving around all the time, but some of you might want to be in front of a computer all the time, and that's okay. Some of you might want to work remotely. That's okay. That's not a bad thing, but just identify the things that are important to you for your next career. Some of those things might not be perfect. Might not be perfect.
Mhm.
But if you get your foot in the door, maybe you can create those things for you. I was commuting to New York City 5 days a week for 2 years. I was on a 4:30 train every morning to New York and getting home late at night. But the grinding, because some of everybody were later stages of our career as opposed to like just starting them out. When you're 22, the boss is going to expect you to be in the office. But at our age, if we're able to prove that we can kick ass at our job, you're going to earn some flexibility and maybe earn some of those things that you want to have, going back to that, the work life thing we talked about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. Looking back on your whole journey, kind of coming back full circle now, what do you think has been the most rewarding path that you've taken? Whether it was in teaching, coaching, or maybe in one of the careers that you've gone through now, or mentoring
Yeah,
at work?
no, it's a great question. I think there are many. I mean, many. I think if you categorize teaching, like, my greatest joy when I was a teacher and a coach was to see a young man or young woman gain self-confidence, because I never had any. I had none when I was a kid. My household was, I had an abusive alcoholic father, like divorce, like all that crap. And it just wasn't fun. And I just never had any confidence. So teaching, that was it. I got to tell you now, and I hope this doesn't sound superficial, but like, when I grew up, like, I got hand-me-downs from my cousin who was like twice the size of me. And I got old used shoes, and like, there wasn't much under the tree at Christmas. Like, and that's fine. Like, I'm not complaining, but to my point, I love that I'm now in a position where, I'm being very mindful about how my family spends our money, but I'm in a position now where, my son or daughter says, hey, daddy, is there any way we could get that? I say yes almost every time. And I don't have to worry about whether or not I can pay for it. So it's not a superficial thing. It just makes me feel better as a dad and a husband and a provider, because when I was a teacher, I didn't really look at my role in my family as provider. It was like, I was a teacher and a coach. Like, that's what I did. And like, we had faculty housing from our school, and like, I don't know. I think my mindset shifted a little bit, and it just feels really good to be able to do some things. Like, we're literally going on vacation as a family for the first time ever this February. And like, my kids don't know about it, and like, I can't wait. And that's going to be super fun. And so again, it's not a superficial thing, but it's just getting through that period where, I had no idea how I was going to pay a bill. There was $0 to pay the bill. And you just figure it out, and just don't give up. I mean, that's the thing. Just keep fighting hard. I'm a big believer in manifestation. And I can tell you right now, a lot of the things that I've been manifesting for many years I'm seeing them happen right in front of me. They're happening. And sometimes it takes a long time. But what I do know is, and I'm pretty sure everybody on this call would agree, like, none of you are quitters. Things get hard and you get down, and sometimes you're like, what the hell am I doing? But you just gotta just keep going and just battle hard.
No, absolutely. You never would have guessed that you didn't have confidence when when you were growing up, because I feel like that's if there's one thing that you're exuding today, that it's confidence in yourself and what you want for us. So yeah, that's so amazing. And it feels better when you're able to do something when you've worked for it. Every step of the way you've grinded to go on
Yeah,
vacation
no,
with your
well,
family.
yeah, thank you. I mean, and you want to, everything in life that's the best is well earned, and you guys will earn your opportunity. And I think that's just another point that I hope I made is exude confidence when you go into these meetings. Don't let anybody allow you to think that your job is any less important than what they're doing. Your jobs have been far more important than anything anybody you're meeting with has ever done. If they haven't been in the military or served our country, first responders, police officers in that regard, give me a break. No chance.
No, I 100% agree. Um, I'd love to wrap it up on just, I know you've given us a lot of advice today, but if you could give one piece of advice for these guys who either if they're transitioning and making a complete swap of careers or not, just one advice on this time period that they're going through.
I hate to sound like a broken record. I think I've already given it.
Yeah,
It's
no, absolutely.
go attack every opportunity. Be very thoughtful about what you want to do. Don't just try to get a job. Okay, a job is not a career. There's a big difference between a job and a career, and identify that as you're attacking this. Make sure you're going for a career if that's what you want. That's to me a big difference, and allowed me to stay focused on what I was doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. It was awesome to hear just how leadership and adaptability and how all the things that we can do. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and chatting with us.
It's my pleasure. And again, thank you for having me. As I mentioned at the beginning, and I mean it, connect with me on LinkedIn if you want to chat one-on-one. I'm happy to get on a phone call and chat through whatever it is that you've gone through in your life and what you're trying to do. In the past, I have been able to connect some people to people in my network. And I'm happy to do that for people. But that would be my absolute pleasure. And I'll try to get back to you as fast as humanly possible so that we can connect on a call.
No, thank you so much. I love to see, I don't know if you saw my question in the chat. I love seeing people post what they really did something good at. Oh goodness, they really did get something out of it today. So I appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure. I have not been reading the chat. I've been trying to stay focused. But thank you to everybody and best of luck. You just literally just go for it and don't let anybody tell you that you can't. It's you can do it. It's good. It could be very hard, but you can pull it off. You can pull it off, no doubt.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, Steve.
Thanks, everybody.